You're looking good, and it feels good to be with you today. Hello, I'm Kendall Brian Hunter, and this is, what are we? This is News with the Eyes of Faith. Number 15. I do two podcasts, and sometimes my brain just skipped right there. Well, how you feeling? How's the stock market doing? How's your portfolio? How's your 401k? How's your crypto wallet? Does that mean anything? Well, the election. Biden is still president, but not for long. And Biden is president. This explains the triple crown sweeps that the Republicans have got, the conservatives have got, the presidency, the House, the Senate, and indirectly the Supreme Court. It's a clear mandate, especially with the Electoral College and the popular vote. And I think that's why you've been getting some quietness on the parts of the Democrats is you can't argue against this. It's a clear mandate, a clear refutation of their ideology, Bidenomics, and this bait and switch with Vice President Harris for 3 months. There you go. I like you've been seeing the meltdown responses to the election. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. I talked about it last week. I'm going to do this sort of as a segment within this newscast or whatever you call this podcast about why people respond a certain way and how to love your neighbor. Really, I hope you're reaching out to your friends who are Democrats in kindness. Say how you doing and don't say anything. Exercise temperance or self-control and let them talk and say, thank you for this conversation. Thank you for telling me how you feel. And I'll talk about feelings a little bit later too. So, Triple Crown sweep and majority vote. But the Book of Mormon says talks about this Mosiah chapter 29, what happens when the majority of the people choose wicked. Now, before you go to the second part, first you have to establish that the majority of the people are choosing wickedness. So what do you think about the open borders and the safety issues that creates? Puberty blockers, the castration blades in every schoolroom. What do you do? You have a daughter and she starts hitting 11, 12. You notice that she's not developing properly, and you find out that a teacher showed her a TikTok video, and now she thinks that she's really a boy, and so the school's been giving her puberty blockers for a year now behind your back without your consent. Reckless spending. Why are your insurance premiums so high? One word: ObamaCare. Mercy cannot rob justice, and you can't outrun reality. Ivy League schools, the issuing these, making mandatory DEI statements at the same time, passively promoting anti-Semitism. Now they're withdrawing these. Hey, we don't want you to have these DEI statements. Did we get caught up in a mass hysteria, impulse shopping? Of course, we're all horrified by George Floyd's death. That's a tragedy. It's worse. Some good changes have been made, but did some bad things creep in there in the hysteria and panic? Do we need some more common sense solutions to racism? So, book recommendations. I have written a book. I've read a lot of books. You can follow me on Goodreads. So, what books should you be reading right now, or audiobooks? Definitely the scriptures. Okay. Has the majority of the people gone wicked, or what's things you're learning in the Book of Mormon as we're reading Come Follow Me? Read the scriptures. It might be helpful to read some books. Of course, if you haven't read this, called The Art of the Deal by now President Trump. It's dated, but it's sort of a biography of his life. It gives you insights into his psyche. And then you have this book. Now, this is an older edition called Crippled America, How to Make America Great Again. He's now called this How to Make America Great Again. So just kind of cover up this part. Yeah, it's a negative title. Strunk and White express things in the positive, and I'm a sourpuss face. Blah, blah, blah. He could smile more. It's like the Julius Caesar, people with a lean look who don't laugh from Shakespeare. I'll 100% admit that that's part of Trump's problem, is that he doesn't smile enough, and that was negative title where you could have had a positive one. But are you willing to forgive him? Turn the other cheek 70 times 7. Have you forgiven Bill Clinton? Forgiven Obama for screwing up your insurance premiums with Obamacare? Turning the other cheek. That doesn't mean you don't hold people accountable. It means that you love them and forgive them. There's another book. I'm sorry I don't have a hard copy of it with me. It's in storage. I should dig it out. If I could, I'm in the process of cleaning out my storage unit, and the book's written by Newt Gingrich, a former Speaker of the House, and it's called "Lessons Learned the Hard Way." And then he talks about the lessons he learned. Now, this is helpful. Elder Joseph B. Worthland of the 12, every time he got released or fulfilled an assignment, he'd do a personal debriefing, explain what went right, what went wrong with the assignment, and how he could have done better. And this is Newt Gingrich's equivalent, Lessons Learned the Hard Way by Newt Gingrich, and talks about why the Contract with America coalition broke down. They had energy for a speaker for 4 years, and which makes him a pseudo-president, one-term pseudo-president, but things fell apart, and there's a reason why, and it's helpful to study Newt Gingrich explaining that, because we're going to go down the same path with this thing. This victory is only a 2-year victory. We're just barely a majority in the House of Representatives, and we need to expand that, get our message out even more, really to flip a lot of countries, and not just flip counties and states, but to turn hearts and to reach out to people's souls with our message and make sure our message is on track. So review all these books. Well, you remember the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Administration, and they got a directive to ignore houses with Trump signs. That was real. That was true. And we need to not have a conversation about it. It's an established fact, but we need to take action. And this is a house cleaning. You're putting people at risk for ideological reasons. No, that's fundamentally wrong. If you're comfortable with that, you really need to look in the mirror, read the scriptures, and look in the mirror. Church news. This is news with the eyes of faith. A 100-year-old prophet dedicated the 200th temple, and ain't that some empirical evidence supporting the validity of the church? Compare us to the community of Christ. People who keep the word of wisdom, who don't keep the word of wisdom. Yeah, prophets have gotten sick. Some have been really long-lived. Joseph Fielding Smith, President Hinckley, some have been sick. Spencer W. Kimball, Howard W. Hunter. We sadly watched President Monson slowly age. But, there's some truth to that. Giving machines are up and running. It's kind of a funny idea. And it started out as sort of a experimental thing. The church did it. It worked. And wow, they're just everywhere on the planet. I remember a couple of years ago, I got this catalog from a Christian denomination. It was sort of the same thing, where you could get a catalog where you could buy a goat for a family. So instead of a vending machine, it was a catalog. But we're glad where everyone's helping people out, that we have voluntary redistribution of wealth instead of mandatory. Government can't macromanage people, but people can make these micro decisions, incremental decisions. It's wonderful. Okay, I can't build a school. I can buy an eye exam or a goat for people. So, of course, work with the church, but the church also works with other denominations, Catholic Relief, Red Cross, Red Crescent. It's all good, so contribute to it. Make sure you're on a budget and living financially responsibly so that you can help people out. So, election reaction. This is an appropriate time of celebration. A lot of people got canceled. It took me a lot of goading to wear my hat out, and it did involve the assassination attempt and some other things. But we did it. Now, it's interesting is Trump's cabinet. That's a dream team. He's just got all the best people in there. Trump is learning. He's getting good advice. He has good people who are siding with him. The reason why it's functioning so well is that he's not taking government monies. He's just doing this on his own. So he's bypassing the government election system by setting up his cabinet. And it's okay. There's no constitutional provision for it. There is some legislation, but as it goes. He's an experienced president, so it's going to be better the second time. It's a different coalition. He reached out to more people. People saw, you saw, when you see your friends and your loved ones voting for a president who in the debates, and they're in denial. Oh, no, he's not just having a bad day. It's like, no, this is systemic. People saw that it resonated with them. So he has a broader coalition. Just a word about Mike Pence. I'm grateful for his service. If I was Mike Pence, Mike Pence is just responding wrong to this. He's getting in an argument with Trump, and you just never do that. You opt out. That's how to win friends and influence people. The best way to win an argument is to avoid it. And if you just respond, President Trump and I will never see eye to eye on January 6th, but I congratulate and wish him well. And this is a higher way approach. This is the loving and forgiving way to do things. I wish he'd do that, because you are a Christian after all. Democrats and the rhinos, Schwarzenegger, Dick Cheney, some Republicans crossed the line and voted for Harris, endorsed her. Some Kevin Sorbo, Dean Cain, Superman and Hercules didn't. Conservatism really resonates with men. You have sometimes Schwarzenegger, but Dean Cain, who is Superman, then Kevin Sorbo, who is Hercules and Superman. Republicans have good things for men. So women, people shrieking, banging their head, women cutting their hair off, which is interesting because that's a castration image, but it's also a mild form of self-harm. So instead of mutilating yourself, you didn't get your way, so you're mutilating yourself. You're just cutting your hair off. And fortunately, it grows back. It's the dewomanizing, unsexing their self. It's a soft form of suicide, if I can use that term, and I'm not going to get blocked or demonetized. Mourning, there's the ancient practice of sackcloth and ashes. But are these healthy strategies? In a certain way they are, because you catharsize your emotion, you get it out, you express your feelings. But is the Democratic Party promoting normalizing mental illness and unhealthy ways of dealing with failure or loss of election? Do you feel safe with people approaching elections this way? Is this mentally healthy? Is your political worldview causing you to act in ways that are not constructive and not adult and mature, very infantile, self-destructive, helping you, or are they aggravating you? So this is 12 minutes, and this is a segment I call Loving Your Leftist Friends, or Your Left Friends, by understanding them. And you always pray for charity for members of your own party and people who may disagree with you. It's an important thing. It's an important part of our message. Sorry, just adjusting the light a little bit. Technical difficulty. Okay, it's a little bit better. So why do people on the left respond this way? Shrieking, cutting their hair, ostracizing people, leaving X, going to a blue sky. Why is that? There's a reason why. There's a coherent explanation for it. Now, this isn't a scientific explanation, but it is experiential and observational, more of a psychological. For example, here's a common experience you've probably had or you've seen have. You talk and you maybe argue with someone who's on the political left. You cite facts. They respond with an emotional response. And it just gets nowhere. And at some point, in frustration, the person on the left just insults you. Well, you're just a personal attack. They call you a fascist, a Nazi. So why does the left insult people when you're discussing, instead of saying, okay, you see things differently, let's just make an amicable separation? Why would someone insult you and think that that's a valid way to respond, a kind way to respond, a Christian way to respond to people? Now, last week I discussed this model of feelings, fairness, and friends. And that's what operates them. So when you're talking or you're reading an article, do it within those the three F's: feelings, fairness, and friends. And conservative, it's facts, fidelity, and family. And I'll talk about that a little bit later in some other podcast. They base decisions on things, how they make them feel. And they also hold beliefs that make them feel a certain way. Now, it's sometimes because it's internal. It's not operating in outside reality. It's just a personal perception. And they want certain things to be true. Because they want to feel a certain way, so they'll believe certain things that make them feel a certain way, not because they're necessarily true. So the word, I don't use the word true, I use the word validity. Is this valid because it's true, or is it valid because it makes them feel a certain way? And that's where you get this danger that's talked about in the Book of Mormon, the flattering words and fair promises. And if you can speak them right, they're hooked. People on the left and right process language differently. That's why the conversation never goes. When they frame things in terms of an emotional matrix rather than a factual matrix. Oh, this person would be bothered. He would feel angry. I love the Book of Mormon. Well, I love the Book of Mormon is a different statement than saying the Book of Mormon is true. Or a person will say, oh, I love something. So that's an emotional thing. And then they're a friend of theirs. So they find it valid because the friend has an emotional response. And it's a completely different frame of thinking that you have on the right. The grinding clash of intense personal feelings and how the world really operates. They want things to be a certain way, but they end up keep body slamming the brick wall of reality. You're not being swayed by the emotional pleas called an ad misericordiam argument, and so you don't give in. And so in frustration, another emotional response. So they get frustrated with you and then they insult you, and that has to do with the friends dynamic, feelings, fairness, and friends. So they say, okay, since we don't see the things, they're going to ostracize you. And so they just kind of shut off the feedback loop by social ostracizing. Now, I had to do this 3 times with 3 of my friends, one from a mission companion, one from a roommate, and one from a friend from elementary school. And it's unpleasant, but they're being toxic, and they're hurting you because you see things differently. And so you have this thing where people make emotional decisions, and if you disagree with them, they become relationship terrorists. They'll cut off the relationship, move to Blue Sky or to Mammoth. So the solution to that is try and get your friends to get emotionally attached to reality. So if emotions are things, say, okay, this is how you're going to feel if you believe the truth. Does that feel real? Or is this just an avoidance tactics? So this, like I said, it's a bit rarefied, and what I'm doing is I'm shifting your thinking. I'm helping you understand your friends who see things differently to you, so you can build a community where their value of feeling over fact and your value of facts over feeling, you can come together and live peaceably with each other. So as I explain it, it's going to become more and more clear to you, and you're just going to have this great aha moment once it finally clicks. And I hope you're taking notes on what I'm saying and writing it down and ruminating, and you'll find your own experiences. But this is how you preserve a relationship. Does this feel true? Does this feel real? Or are you in denial, an avoidance tactic of dealing with something real, that you lost an election, you just don't want to process it? If you say, okay, we need to do some soul searching right now, which is Bill Maher's opinion. Bill Maher is the new Rush Limbaugh, or one of the new ones. I talked about that last week. So I'm going to start talking about a little bit about justice, and I'll cover that next week because we're at almost 20 minutes right now. But I hope you're staying, praying, studying the scriptures, and praying for the gift of charity to your friends who see things differently, and that you're always reaching out with love. I have a friend of mine, and we've been able to have a healthy conversation. So a couple of days after the election, I just sent him an email, said, "Okay, how you doing post-election?" ? And the idea is I will not argue with him. I just let him vent, get it out of the system. If he hasn't responded, and just say, thank you I now understand your point of view. This improves our relationship. See, you do things in terms of feeling and friendship. Okay, will this augment your friendship? Will this augment community? And you frame it that way, and you'll just work much better with people on the left, and you'll actually love them as people. So that's news with the eyes of faith.